The recording began with a sound of glass touching marble, a delicate clink, then laughter, not the soft embarrassed laugh Evelyn used in public whenever someone praised her kindness, not the trembling little laugh she hid behind her fingers when she wanted men to think she was shy. This laugh was sharp, greedy, triumphant. Mara lay on the ballroom floor with blood outspreading beneath her ribs and listened to the voice of the woman she had once called Res, best friend. She really believed me. Evelyn's words pornos hidden speaker inside Mara's shattered phone. She believed every tear, every apology. Every time I said I was scared, she ran to protect me like a stupid dog. Around Mara, crystal chandeliers burned above hundreds of frozen faces. Investors, reporters, relatives, business partners. Every person who had smiled at her during the charity gala now stood in a wide circle, staring down as if she were something filthy dragged in from the street. Her white dress had turned red beneath her. The knife was still buried under her ribs. Each breath scraped through her chest like broken metal. Across the room, Evelyn stood beside Adrian Cole, the man who had once promised Mara a future, a home, and a life untouched by waste, not protectively, possessively, the way it had once rested on Mara. Evelyn's face was wet with tears. Perfect tears, round, bright, trembling on her lashes. She attacked me, Evelyn whispered. Her voice shook beautifully. She found out Adrian chose me and she lost control. I tried to calm her down. I swear I did. Adrian stared at Mara with disgust. The same man who had once kissed the scar now looked at her as if her blood might stain his shoes. You should have accepted that you lost, he said. Mara tasted iron. Her fingers twitched against the cold floor. She wanted to laugh. Even now, Evelyn was performing. Even now, with Mara dying at her feet, she was arranging every expression, every breath, every tear with the precision of an actress taking her final bow. Mara's mother stood behind Adrian. She did not move closer. She did not call for help. Her lips pressed into a thin line of disappointment. You have humiliated this family enough, she said. Why could you never learn to let Evelyn have one thing? Mara's vision darkened at the edges. Evelyn had taken her scholarship by claiming Mara had cheated. She had taken her first promotion by crying in the director's office and saying Mara bullied her. She had taken Adrian by inventing a story about loneliness, fear, and forbidden love. Now she had taken the company Mara built from nothing. The contracts had been transferred that morning. The board had voted Mara out after Evelyn accused her of stealing charity funds. False documents had appeared. Witnesses had lied. Adrian had confirmed everything. Mara's own mother had signed the statement declaring her unstable. Say said for our every bit entered from a hand Mara once trusted. Every knife had entered from a hand Mara once trusted. The blade beneath her ribs was only the last. Abscess. Evelyn stepped closer. Her heels clicked against the marbles. Slow, elegant, merciless. She knelt just beyond the reach of Mara's blood and allowed her expression to crack for the smallest instant. The trembling victim disappeared. In her place was a woman glowing with victory. You should have given me the company when I first asked, Evelyn murmured, too softly for the crowd to hear. You always make things so difficult. Mara stared into her eyes. There was no guilt there, no fear, only hunger. Behind Evelyn, the enormous display screen showed the new company announcement. Evelyn Hart, acting chairwoman. Adrian Cole, chief executive officer. Mara's names had already been erased. You forged the accounts, Mara whispered. Pain burned through her side. Evelyn smiled. You signed everything yourself. You switched the files. You never checked what you gave me. You poisoned the donor. Evelyn's smile deepened. She was old. The room seemed to tilt. Mara had months caring for Helena Ward, the elderly investor who had trusted her enough to leave a controlling share of the company in Mara's hands. Helena had died after drinking tea Evelyn prepared. Mara had suspected the truth. She had searched. She had gathered evidence. She had hidden a recorder in Evelyn's private suite, but she had hesitated. She had wanted certainty. She had wanted to confront Evelyn alone. She had still believed some small fragment of their friendship might have been real. That hesitation had killed her. Adrian glanced at the blood beneath Mara. She is still conscious. Rose. The victim returned to her face. A frightened breath escaped her lips. Should we call someone? Mara's brother scoffed. After what she tried to do to you? Mara's mother turned away. Let the authorities handle it. No one called an ambulance. No one touched the knife. No one looked into Mara's eyes long enough to see that she was still alive. The music had stopped, but the room was not silent. She heard whispers. Camera shutters, fabric shifting, someone coughing. Somewhere near the entrance a woman asked whether the gala would continue. Mara looked at the ceiling. The chandelier blurred into a circle of white fire. Her phone lay near her hand, its screen cracked, the recording file still open. She had planned to play it tonight. She had planned to expose Evelyn before the board signed the final transfer. But Adrian had found her backstage. He had smiled. Then he held her arms while Evelyn drove the knife into her body. The hidden recording had never reached the speakers. Mara's fingers dragged across the floor. A thin streak of blood followed them. Evelyn noticed. She stepped on Mara's hand. The pressure was gentle enough to escape notice, cruel enough to grind bones marble. Mara did not scream. She had no breath left for it. Evelyn leaned down as if offering comfort. Her perfume smelled of white roses, the same perfume Mara had bought her for her birthday. "You were always smarter than me," Evelyn whispered. "That was your problem. Smart people think the truth matters." Her heel pressed harder. "The truth only matters when people hear it first." Mara's heart stumbled. Evelyn lifted her foot and turned away. Adrian followed her. Mara watched them walk towards the stage together while the crowd parted for them. Her mother joined them. Her brother joined them. The board members followed. They moved toward the company Mara had built as if stepping onto a throne prepared by her corpse. A photographer called for Evelyn to look up. She did. Her tears glittered. Her hand found Adrian. The cameras flashed. Mara's blood cooled beneath her. Her hearing faded. The last thing she saw was Evelyn smiling through her tears. The last thing she heard was applause. Then darkness closed over her face. Cold, heavy, absolute. Mara opened her eyes to the sound of crying, soft sobs, carefully broken breaths, a sniffle timed between sentences. She stared at the ceiling above her. Cream paint, a thin crack near the chandelier. Morning light leaking through pale curtains. Her bedroom, not the ballroom, not the marble floor, no blood, no knife. Her lungs filled sharply. Air rushed into her body so fast it hurt. She sat up. Her hands flew to her ribs. Smooth skin, stun, no wound, no blood. Her heart hammered against her palm. At the foot of the bed, Evelyn was crying. She wore a powder blue dress and held a white handkerchief to her mouth. Her shoulders trembled. Her eyes shone. Mara knew this scene. She knew the light, the dress, the faint smell of coffee drifting from the hallway. She knew the silver folder resting on the table. She knew the date printed on the contract inside it. This was the morning Evelyn had begged her for access to the charity accounts. The morning everything began. "Mara," Evelyn whispered, "I know I have no right to ask." Mara looked past her. Her mother stood by the window, with irritation already tightening her face. Her brother leaned against the wall, arms crossed. Adrian sat in the chair beside the table, watching Evelyn with concern. Every face was younger, cleaner, untouched by the future, yet Maris could still see what each of them would become. Her mother turning away from her dying body, her brother calling her insane before the cameras, Adrian holding her arms while the knife entered, Evelyn smiling above the blood. The memory struck like ice driven through her spine. For one breath, rage rose inside her, hot, savage, bright enough to burn the room. Then Mara closed her fingers around the blanket. She breathed in once. Slowly, the rage sank. It did not disappear. It hardened, coal beneath frozen water. "The foundation audit is tomorrow," she said. "I only need temporary access. I would never touch anything important. I just want a chance to prove myself." Mara remembered every word. In her previous life, she had refused. Evelyn had cried. Her mother had accused Mara of jealousy. Adrian had said trust mattered more than control. Her brother had called her selfish. After hours of pressure, Mara had surrendered the access code. Evelyn had entered the accounts. She had copied donor identities, changed permissions, planted false transactions, and built the weapon that would later destroy Mara. This was the first door. Mara had opened it herself. Her mother's exhaled impatiently. "She is not asking for your blood." Not yet, Mara thought. Her brother shook his head. "You always say Evelyn is family. Why do you treat her like a thief?" "Because she is one." Adrian leaned forward. "Mara, she only wants to help." Mara looked at him. His face was gentle. His voice was warm. There was no trace of the man who would one day watch her bleed. Perhaps he had not betrayed her yet. Perhaps the first lie had not yet crossed his lips. It did not matter. A knife did not become innocent merely because it had not yet been used. Evelyn stepped closer to the bed. "I understand if you do not trust me." Her lower lip trembled. A tear slipped down her cheek. Perfect. Mara watched it fall. In her previous life, that tear had pierced her more deeply than any accusation. Now it looked like water sliding down glass, empty, cold, reflecting whatever stood before it. "You are right," Mara said quietly. The room stilled. Evelyn blinked. Mara pushed the blanket aside and stood. Her knees did not shake. Her voice did not rise. She crossed the room barefoot and picked up the silver folder. Everyone watched her. Her mother's expression softened with premature satisfaction. Adrian smiled faintly. Her brother looked relieved. They believed they knew what came next. They believed Mara would surrender again. They were correct. But this time, she would not surrender blindly. This time, she would choose the shape of the blade. Mara opened the folder. Inside lay the temporary access agreement. A phone rested beside it. Her old phone, the one without the cracked screen, the one containing no final recording. Not yet. She lifted it. Evelyn glanced at the device, then returned her gaze to Mara's face. Mara smiled. Very slowly. "I trust you," she said. Evelyn's eyes brightened. Her mother relaxed. Adrian stood. I knew you would understand. Mara entered the access settings. Her thumb moved across the screen. She granted Evelyn permission to review the charity records. Then she opened another menu. Audio capture, automatic cloud storage, continuous backup, remote playback. Her movements were hidden behind the silver folder. No one noticed. In her previous life she had spent months begging for proof after the damage was done. This time, proof would be born before the first lie left Evelyn's mouth. Mara activated the recorder. A tiny red symbol appeared. She concealed it. Then she handed Evelyn the agreement. Evelyn took it with both hands. Her fingers trembled with barely contained excitement. Thank you, she breathed. She looked grateful, humble, overwhelmed, but Mara saw the quick flare in her eyes. Victory, the same light that had gleamed above the ballroom floor, the same hunger, the same belief that Mara had lost before the game began. Her mother touched Evelyn's shoulder. See, Mara only needed to stop stubborn. Her brother laughed. This should have taken 5 minutes. Adrian stepped beside Evelyn. You made the right choice. Mara looked at all of them. Their faces were calm, their futures screened behind their eyes. She remembered the cold marble beneath her body. She remembered the applause. She remembered Evelyn's heel grinding into her hand. The truth only matters when people hear it first. Mara lowered her gaze to the phone. The recorder continued to run. This time every whisper would survive, every plan, every mockery, every confession spoken behind a locked door. Evelyn hugged the folder to her chest as if it were a treasure. She believed she had been handed the key to Mara's ruin. She did not know the device in her handbag had already connected to Mara's private system. She did not know the microphones in the charity office would be replaced before sunset. She did not know the ballroom sound network could be accessed remotely. She did not know that one day when the room was full and the lights were brightest, Mara would press a single button. No warning, no private confrontation, no second chance. Every false tear would dry beneath the heat of public shame. Every sweet lie would return in Evelyn's own voice. Mara met her best friend's gaze. Then she smiled. In her previous life, she had fought to keep the poisoned cup from Evelyn's hands. This time, she would polish it, fill it, offer it with both hands, and when Evelyn lifted it proudly before the world, Mara would let everyone hear exactly how eagerly she had chosen to drink. Evelyn signed the access agreement before the ink beneath Mara's signature had fully dried. The tip of her pen scratched across the paper with a faint, eager sound. She paused at the final line, lifted her eyes, and smiled through the damp shine still clinging to her lashes. I will not disappoint you. Mara looked at the handkerchief folded neatly between Evelyn's fingers. The cloth was dry. Every tear had fallen exactly where it could be seen. I know, Mara said. Evelyn's smile faltered for less than a heartbeat. Then, she lowered her head in rehearsed gratitude. Mara's mother gathered the signs, then tapped them into a perfect stack. So this is how family should behave, she said. No suspicion, no competition, no selfishness. Her gaze settled on Mara as though every word were a correction meant for her alone. Mara said nothing. Silence had once been forced upon her. Now it belonged to her. Her brother pushed away from the wall and walked toward Evelyn. You deserved a chance from the beginning. Evelyn pressed the handkerchief against her lips. Adrian's expression softened. That is obvious to anyone willing to see it. Mara watched them arrange themselves around Evelyn. A wall of approval, a circle of protection, the same formation they would take in the ballroom, while Mara's blood spread beneath the chandelier hand. The hidden system had accepted Evelyn's credentials. The hidden system, Evelyn's credentials. A second notification appeared. Remote audio permission confirmed. Mara locked the screen. Will that be all? She asked. Her mother frowned. You could sound a little warmer. I gave her what she wanted. That does not mean you should make her feel guilty for accepting it. Evelyn immediately reached for Mara's wrist. Her touch was light, careful, public. Mara, please do not misunderstand. I can refuse if this hurts you. The contract was already signed, the access code was already stored in her device, yet she offered to refuse with the confidence of someone who knew the room would never allow it. Mara looked down at Evelyn's fingers. In another life, those fingers had wrapped around a knife. Mara slowly turned her wrist and held in Evelyn's hands. The gesture startled everyone. Even Evelyn. There is nothing to misunderstand, Mara said. You should take it. A hush settled over the bedroom. Mara's smile remained small. You asked so sincerely. Evelyn's strict face. Perhaps she expected sarcasm. Perhaps some animal instinct had felt the trap closing beneath the carpet. But Mara's gaze was calm. No anger, no resistance. Nothing Evelyn could point to and call cruelty, so she smiled again, sweetly. Thank you. Mara released her. The others left together. Her mother walked first, already discussing the audit. Her brother followed, telling Evelyn he would help her move into the foundation office. Adrian stayed close enough that his shoulder brushed Evelyn's. Their voices faded down the hallway. Then the front door closed. Mara stood motionless beside the table. The house became quiet. Not truly quiet. The refrigerator hummed downstairs. A clock ticked in the corridor. A car passed beyond the windows, but the air no longer carried false crying. Mara opened the recording application. 5 voices appeared as separate waveforms. Every word had been preserved. Her mother's accusation, her brother's mockery, Adrian's defense, Evelyn's gratitude, even Mara's own calm surrender. She listened to several seconds. Then she created a private archive. Nothing was deleted. Nothing was edited. Nothing was trusted to a single device. Copies went to encrypted storage, a room server, and an account registered under a company no one in the family knew existed. In her previous life, she had kept evidence in one folder. Adrian had found it. This time, the truth would have more hiding places than a hunted animal. Mara showered. She dressed in a dark suit. Then she drove to the Foundation office. The city moved beneath a gray morning sky. Rain hung in the clouds without falling. At every red light, Mara remembered another fragment of the future. Evelyn laughing in the private suite. Adrian deleting security footage. Her mother telling reporters that Mara had always been unstable. Her brother claiming the forged documents looked exactly like her work. Basis Marie Simmer did not stir up her hands on the steering wheel. They sharpened them. By the time Mara entered the Foundation building, Evelyn had already arrived. She stood in the central office surrounded by employees. Her blue dress made her appear gentle beneath the cold white lights. A tray of coffee rested on the conference table. She had brought drinks for everyone. Of course she had. Mara, Evelyn called brightly. Conversation softened. Heads turned. Evelyn crossed the room carrying a cup. I remembered your order. Mara accepted it. The lid was warm beneath her fingers. In the previous life, Evelyn had added a sedative to this coffee. Not enough to make Mara collapse, only enough to blur her concentration during the audit meeting. Mara had signed the wrong review sheet. That mistake had later become the first proof of her supposed financial negligence. Mara looked at the cup. Evelyn watched her with open affection. Drink before it gets cold. Mara raised it. Evelyn's eyes remained fixed on her mouth. At the last moment, Mara turned toward the newest interns standing beside the copier. You have been here since dawn, haven't you? The young woman blinked. Yes, take this. Mara held out the coffee. The intern hesitated, as Evelyn's fingers tightened around the cardboard tray. That one is made specifically for you. I am not thirsty. Mara placed the cup in the intern's hands. Evelyn laughed lightly. There is extra sugar. It might be too sweet. I like sweet coffee, the intern said. She lifted the cup. Evelyn stepped forward quickly. Her shoulder struck the intern's arm. The coffee fell. It splashed across the tiled floor. The lid rolled beneath the table. For a moment, Evelyn stared at the dark liquid spreading between their shoes. Then she covered her mouth. I am so sorry. The intern hurried for paper towels. Mara watched Evelyn's face. There it was. Not fear of embarrassment. Relief. Mara crouched as if helping. She pressed a clean absorbent strip against the coffee nearest the overturned cup. The strip disappeared into her sleeve. When she rose, Evelyn was smiling again, clumsy, apologetic, harmless. I will make you another one. No need, Mara said. She walked into her office. The door closed behind her with a quiet click. Then she placed the strip inside a sealed sample bag. The sedative would be tested before noon, not because Mara needed proof of what Evelyn had done. She remembered the dizziness, she remembered the metallic taste, she remembered every signature written through a fog, but memory was not evidence. Evidence needed dates, samples, witnesses, records, a chain no charming tear could dissolve. Outside the glass wall, Evelyn settled at the workstation Mara had assigned her. The desk looked ordinary, the computer looked ordinary, the security system had been rebuilt overnight. Every screen interaction was mirrored, every file opened was copied, every external device was identified before connection. The microphone beneath the desk was sensitive enough to capture a whisper. Mara sat down and opened the charity accounts. She had changed nothing important. That was essential. A trap became useless if the prey could smell fresh metal. The same donor files remained, the same transfer templates remained, the same administrator page remained visible. But beneath the surface, every action would create an invisible duplicate. Evelyn believed she had received access. In truth, she had entered a transparent cage. For the first hour, she behaved perfectly. She reviewed donations, she corrected spelling. She sent cheerful messages to staff. She praised Mara twice within hearing distance of the conference room. During lunch, she brought soup to an elderly receptionist and insisted the woman rest. People watched her with admiration. She is lovely, someone murmured near the printer. Mara heard it through the office's microphone. Another voice answered, I do not understand why Mara kept her away from the foundation for so long. Evelyn had begun stealing $. She had already back in her room. Mara leaned back in her chair. In her previous life, those whispers had wounded her. She had worked until midnight for years, yet one afternoon of Evelyn's kindness had made her appear cold by comparison. Now Mara understood the function of every cup of coffee, every soft word, every hand placed gently on a tired employee's shoulder. Evelyn did not give kindness, she invested it. Late in the afternoon, Adrian arrived. He carried white roses, the same scent Evelyn had worn beside Mara's dying body. He entered without knocking and placed the flowers on Evelyn's desk. For surviving your first day, the employees laughed. Evelyn blushed. You are embarrassing me. Adrian glanced toward Mara's office. Someone should make you feel welcome. The words were not loud. They were meant to be overheard. Evelyn lowered her eyes. The microphone captured the whisper that followed. She is watching. Adrian replied beneath his breath. Let her. Mara listened through one earbud while reading a legal report. Her pulse did not change. A moment later, Evelyn rose and came to her office. She carried the roses. Adrian was only being thoughtful. Mara looked up. I did not ask. Evelyn's lips parted, then her expression softened into pain. I know this is difficult for you. What is? Evelyn glanced toward the glass wall. Employees could see her. They could not hear. She placed the flowers on Mara's desk and leaned closer. You do not have to pretend you are not jealous. Mara's gaze fell to the roses, white petals, green stems, hidden thorns. You believe I am jealous? I understand. Evelyn sighed. We have always competed even when I never wanted to. Mara almost admired the construction. Evelyn had entered Mara's office after receiving Mara's authorities and now positioned herself as the compassionate winner. In the past, Mara had argued. She had demanded that Evelyn stop manipulating her. Evelyn had left in tears. By sunset, the entire staff believed Mara had humiliated her. This time, Mara touched one of the white petals. You are right. Evelyn became still. Mara lifted her eyes. It must have been exhausting. What? Competing with me? Evelyn studied her. The silence stretched, then Mara smiled. You do not have to anymore. There was no insult in the words, nothing that could be repeated convincingly as abuse. Yet Evelyn's eyes cooled, only for an instant. She took the flowers and hugged them against her chest. I hope one day you will stop seeing me as your enemy. She turned. At the door, Mara said, leave them. Evelyn looked back. The flowers. Mara nodded toward the desk. Adrian bought them for the office. Everyone should enjoy them. A small tension tightened Evelyn's jaw, but the employees were watching, so she returned the bouquet. Of course, when she left, Mara removed a thorn and placed it beside the coffee sample. All small things could draw blood. People only noticed after the wound opened. That evening, Evelyn remained after the staff departed. Mara left first. At least that was what Evelyn believed. Mara drove out of the underground garage and stopped inside its office off across the street. The room was empty except for a desk, a chair, and 3 monitors. Rain had finally begun. Drops tapped against the windows. On the central screen, Evelyn sat alone beneath the foundation's white lights. Her blue dress had been replaced by a cream coat. Her hair was tied back. The sweetness had left her face. She waited several minutes. Then Adrian appeared from the side corridor. He locked the door behind him. Evelyn did not greet him with surprise. She stood and kissed him, not hesitantly, not guiltily, hungrily. Mara watched without moving. In her previous life, seeing them together had broken something inside her. Tonight, it felt like watching actors repeat a scene she had already memorized. How much access did she give you? Enough. Evelyn returned to the computer. She is pathetic than I expected. Even more pathetic, say obsess. Adrian laughed. She thinks giving you control will make her look generous, so she thinks it will make me loyal. Evelyn opened the donor directory. Mara's system duplicated its every keystroke. Adrian leaned over her shoulder. Can you move the accounts? Not yet. The permissions are limited. Her voice sharpened. But I can copy the donor identities and build the transfer history. Once the audit starts, I will create the missing money. How much? Enough to make prison sound merciful. Adrian kissed the side of her neck. And the board? They will believe whatever I cry about. Evelyn smiled at the dark screen. Mara never understood that people do not protect the innocent. They protect the person who looks the most wounded. Mara pressed a key. The audio file saved automatically. Across the street, Evelyn continued. Her voice was clear, confident, careless. She gave me the access herself. When this ends, every record will point to her. Adrian pulled out the chair beside her. What about the old woman? Helen, yes. Evelyn clicked through the donor records. She still controls the deciding shares. I am working on it. How? Evelyn turned toward him. Even through the camera, Mara saw the gleam in her eyes. Helensa trusts Mara. That makes her easy. Adrian frowned. What does that mean? It means Mara will bring her anything if I say it is from the foundation. A soft laugh escaped Evelyn. I only need 1 cup. The rain struck harder against Mara's window. For a moment, the rented office seemed to vanish. Mara smelled tea, bitter herbs, white roses. She saw Helena lying pale beneath hospital sheets, asking why Mara had poisoned her. Mara's fingers rested on the desk still. Across the street, Adrian stared at Felbert. Evelyn, you are serious. Do not become weak now. I am not weak. Then remember what we get. Evelyn turned back to the screen. The company. The shares, the donor network, everything. And Mara? Evelyn's reflection appeared in the dark edge of the monitor. First, a pause. Then she will lose everyone. Another pause, and when there is nothing left, she will destroy herself. Adrian said nothing. Evelyn leaned toward him. If she refuses, we help her. The memory of the knife burned beneath Mara's ribs. Not pain, direction. She selected the audio feed and created another encrypted copy. Then she watched Evelyn plug a silver storage device into the computer. The monitoring system identified it immediately. Every file copied onto it was duplicated into Mara Private Archive. Donor names, account structures, transfer templates, signature samples. Evelyn believed she was using a weapon. Mara was recording her fingerprints on the blade. When they finished, Adrian left first. Evelyn remained behind. She opened the camera on her phone. Within seconds, the cold expression vanished. Her eyes filled. Her shoulders curled inward. She recorded a message. Mara, I hope I did not upset you today. I know Adrian bringing me flowers must have hurt. I never want anything to come between us. You are my family. She stopped recording. Her face went blank. Then she listened to the message once, approved it, and sent it. Mara's phone vibrated on the desk. She played the message aloud while Evelyn sat on the screen without a trace of sadness. Two versions of the same woman spoke in the room. One sweet, one empty. Mara saved both. The next morning, the family gathered for breakfast. Evelyn arrived late, pale and trembling. She carried no handkerchief this time. Her hands alone performed the weakness. Mara's mother immediately stood. What happened? Evelyn shook her head. Nothing. Her brother pulled out a chair. You look ill. Adrian entered behind her, his expression carefully troubled. She was crying all night. Every eye turned toward Mara. Mara continued cutting a piece of fruit. The knife moved cleanly through the flesh. Her mother's voice hardened. What did you say to her? Nothing. Evelyn lowered herself. Please do not blame Mara. Her brother slammed his palms against the table. Then who should we blame? Evelyn's tears appeared. I should not have accepted the success. Mara's mother looked at Mara with disgust. You agreed, then punished her for it? I did not punish anyone. You made her feel like a thief. The word hung in the air. Evelyn covered her face. Adrian knelt beside her. Her brother turned toward Mara. You always do this? You give something with one hand and take dignity with the other. Mara set down the knife. How did I make her feel like a thief? No one answered directly. Evelyn sobbed. Mara's mother snapped. Do you need every pain explained to you? Mara looked around the table. The same eyes, the same judgment, the same eagerness to convict her without evidence. In her previous life she had tried to defend herself until her voice broke. This time, she reached into her bag. She placed a sealed envelope beside Evelyn's plate. Evelyn slowly lowered her hands. What is this? Expanded access. Silence swallowed the room. Mara's brother stared. Adrian rose. Mara continued, calmly. You said the original permissions were too limited to make you feel trusted. This gives you authority over the audit files, donor communications, and transfer preparation. Evelyn's tears stopped. Not gradually, at once. Her gaze dropped to the envelope. Greed moved behind her eyes like light beneath thin ice. Mara, she whispered, I cannot accept this. Yes, you can. It is too much responsibility. You asked for trust. I did not ask for all of this. Her fingers had already touched the envelope. Mara pushed it closer. Take it. Her mother exhaled with satisfaction. That is better. Her brother smiled at Evelyn. You earned it. Adrian placed a hand on Evelyn's shoulder. No one deserves the chance more. Evelyn looked at Mara as if overwhelmed by love. Why are you being so kind? Mara held her gaze. Because the recording from last night was stored in 7 places. Because the coffee sample had tested positive for a prescription sedative. Because the copied files had left a perfect digital trail. Because Helena Ward had already been moved to a private medical team Evelyn did not know existed. Because the access inside the envelope did not lead to the true accounts. It led to a mirrored environment filled with marked files, traceable templates, and money that could never move without producing an alarm. Because the poison cup needed to feel heavy enough to be valuable. Mara smiled. You cried so sincerely. Evelyn's fingers closed around the envelope. Her family watched with approval. They saw reconciliation. Generosity. Selfish finally learning to sacrifice. Only Mara understood what had been placed on the table. Not power, not victory. A locked room disguised as an open door. Evelyn pressed the envelope to her chest. Thank you. Mara lifted her teacup. Steam drifted between them. Do not waste it. Evelyn smiled through fresh tears. I promise. Around her the family relaxed. Adrian kissed her hair. Mara began discussing the celebration they would hold after the audit. Her brother joked that Evelyn would soon be running the entire foundation. They laughed. They praised her. They congratulated one another for forcing Mara to do the right thing. Mara drank her tea and listened. Every voice entered the recorder hidden beneath the table. Every insult. Every declaration of trust, every claim that Evelyn deserved control, they were building their own testimony, one sentence at a time. When breakfast ended, Evelyn walked away carrying the envelope with both hands. She looked like a woman holding the future. She did not know the office cameras were already waiting. She did not know Helena would never drink anything Evelyn sent. She did not know the audit had been moved forward. She did not know the Grand Charity Gala would include a sound system Mara alone could command. Most of all, she did not know that her softest whispers had already been heard. Mara watched the door close behind them, then she opened her private account and transferred every personal asset away from the family structure. The house title, the reserve fund, the investment portfolio, her insurance authority, her voting shares. One by one, she severed the invisible ropes tied around her throat. No announcement. No argument, no farewell. By sunset, the family could no longer touch a single thing that truly belonged to her. They were too busy celebrating Evelyn's victory to notice. Mara stood alone in the darkened dining room. The final light faded behind the windows. Her phone displayed the live feed from Evelyn's new account. A cursor moved across the false transfer page. Evelyn was already testing the lock, already planning the theft. Already drinking. Mara touched the volume control. Soon the room would be full, the chandeliers would burn, the cameras would wait. Evelyn would lift her tearful face before everyone who mattered, and Mara would let her speak. Then, at the perfect moment, she would make the deadliest voice in the room Evelyn's own. Mara left the family house before dawn. No suitcase waited by the door. No farewell letter rested on the table. She carried one black bag, one locked case, and the silence of a woman who had already attended her own funeral. Rain had stopped during the night. The pavement gleamed beneath the street lamps, dark and polished like wet stone. Her shoes made almost no sound as she crossed the courtyard. Behind her, the house remained asleep. Her mother would wake after sunrise and ring the bell for breakfast. Her brother would complain that the coffee was cold. Adrian might arrive with flowers for Evelyn. Evelyn would lower her eyes and pretend she had not spent half the night testing the false accounts Mara had built for her. None of them would notice Mara's absence immediately. They had never truly noticed her presence. She placed the black bag in the trunk and looked once at the windows. In another life, she had begged at those doors. She had stood in the rain after her mother changed the locks. She had called until her fingers went numb. Her brother had watched from an upstairs window and closed the curtain. Now Mara entered the car, started the engine, and drove away before the sky turned pale. The house shrank in the mirror. Then it disappeared. Her new residence stood beyond the city center, hidden behind the blank walls of a former records warehouse. The building had no decorative gate, no marble lions, no name engraved beside the entrance. To anyone passing, it appeared abandoned. That was the point. Mara stopped before a steel door and pressed her palm against a black glass panels. A soft mechanical tone sounded. Locks withdrew inside the walls. Metal slid against metal. The door opened inward. Cold air touched her face. She stepped inside. The entrance sealed behind her with a deep final thud. The inner corridor smelled of new concrete, machine oil, and clean dust. Thin lights ran along the ceiling. Cameras followed her movement in silent arcs. At the end of the passage, another door opened. Warm light spilled across the floor. The warehouse interior no longer resembled the place she had purchased. Engineers had divided it into secure sections. A private living space occupied the upper level. Below it were food storage rooms, medical water tanks, power equipment, a control center, and a fireproof archives sealed behind reinforced walls. Nothing glittered. Everything worked. Mara walked through the central hall while the building awakened around her. Ventilation fans turned, monitors lit one after another, a generator rumbled through a test cycle beneath the floor. Locks confirmed themselves with short metallic clicks. The sounds filled her with no fear. They were the sounds of distance, of separation. A could not be opened by tears. A contractor waited beside the control room. He wore gray coveralls and carried a tablet. We finished the final inspections. Mara accepted the report. Backup power, independent systems. Independent systems either can support the building, water, filter reserve, underground usage, and external supply. Communications, private network, no shared family accounts. No visible company registration connected to your name. Entrances, 2 known, concealed. Mara signs sections leave. Seal the can softly across the screens. The contractor glanced up. Permanently? Until I open it. He did not ask why. People who were paid well and instructed clearly rarely needed stories. Within the hour, the crew departed. The outer door closed. Mara stood inside the building. In her previous life, she had lived in a glass house. Everyone knew where she slept, which door she used, which bank held her money, which employee controlled her calendar, which weakness to press when they wanted obedience. This place held no memories, no gifts from Adrian, no photographs with Evelyn, no family portraits arranged to suggest affection, only concrete. steel, food, water, electricity evidence. Mara carried the locked case into the archive. Inside were physical copies of every recording, the coffee sample report, the access logs, the duplicated transfer files. The documents Evelyn had attempted to alter, the medical warning that had already been sent to Helena's private physician. Mara placed each item into a numbered drawer. She did not trust clouds, she did not trust paper, she did not trust Sixel's lock, a single witness, or a single future. So each truth had three forms, one hidden, one distributed, one waiting to be played aloud. In the control room, the wall screens showed the foundation office, the family house, the charity gala venue. Evelyn had no idea that the venue's audiovisual contractor now worked for Mara. Every microphone had been mapped, every speaker tested, every sky display connected to a private channel. The ballroom where Mara had died in another life would soon become a courtroom with no judge and no locked doors, only witnesses. Mara opened the live feed from the foundation. Evelyn stood in Mara's former office. She had moved into it without permission. Her blue dress had been replaced by white silk. A vase of roses rested beside the computer. Adrian leaned against the desk. Evelyn held a document in one hand. She left the house. Adrian eaten. What? Her room is empty. Did she say where she went? Evelyn looked annoyed. No. A second camera showed Mara's mother entering the office. Her mouth was tight. That ungrateful girl has frozen the household reserve. Mara's brother followed. My card was rejected. Adrian turned toward Evelyn. Did she transfer the money? Apparently. Mara's mother dropped a stack of papers on the desk. She changed the house authority, the investment permissions, and the insurance control. Her brother kicked the chair. She cannot do that. She already did. For several seconds no one spoke. Then Evelyn lowered herself into Mara's chair, slowly, thoughtfully. She is frightened. Mara's mother scoffed. Of what? Of losing control. Evelyn rested her fingers on the desk. She knows the audit will prove I can manage the foundation better than she can. She is protecting what she has left. Adrian's expression hardened. Then we take the company before she can move it too. Mara listened from behind reinforced glass. Her family stood inside the cage and mistook its walls for a throne room. She enlarged the audio waveform. Every voice was clear. Her brother paced. What about the money she took from us? Mara's mother looked at Evelyn. Once the board removes her, we can challenge the transfers. Evelyn nodded. If we prove instability, anything she signed can be questioned. Adrian smiled without warmth. We already have witnesses. Mara's mother looked toward the camera without seeing it. She has always been unstable. Her brother laughed. She barely reacted yesterday. That was not normal. Evelyn's mouth curved. No, it was not. Her eyes narrowed slightly. She is planning something at last, Mara thought. A flicker of instinct. But instinct was not intelligence. Evelyn knew Mara had changed. She did not know why. She believed the danger came from resistance. She could not imagine that Mara had chosen surrender as a weapon. Mara muted the feed. Then she went downstairs. Preparation had its own rhythm. Cardboard dragged across concrete. Metal shelves shuddered beneath stacked supplies. Glass jars touched with small bright sounds. The cold storage unit exhaled pale mist whenever the door opened. Mara checked each section personally. Dry food, water, medical kits, batteries, fuel, clothing, communication equipment. Nothing excessive, nothing careless. She was not preparing for the end of the world. She was preparing for the collapse of several people who would try to drag her beneath them. The disaster hidden behind Evelyn's stolen opportunity was not supernatural. It was cleaner than that, more patient, more believable. The Ward Foundation had never been merely a charity. Helena Ward's controlling shares were a private trust created decades earlier. Anyone who obtained them through fraud triggered an automatic investigation into every connected account. The trust contained dormant liabilities from an international medical program. Legal claims, tax exposure, contractual penalties. If inherited honestly, if those liabilities could be separated and resolved. If seized through falsified transfer records, these attached directly to the recipient's personal assets and executive authority. Evelyn had seen only the voting power. Adrian had seen only the company. Mara's family had seen only wealth. None of them had read the sealed clauses. Mara had discovered them in her previous life after Evelyn took control. By then, every fraudulent document carried Mara's name. The penalties had crushed her. The investigation had destroyed her reputation. Helena's death had made everything look deliberate. Evelyn had escaped by presenting herself as a grieving victim who had trusted the wrong friend. This time, Mara had changed one thing. The false transfer system identified Evelyn as the sole creator of every unauthorized record. The access had been granted openly. Actions would be hers. The voice giving instructions would be hers. The poison she'd planned for Helena would never reach its target. The hand closing around the liabilities would be Evelyn's own. Mara did not need to stop her. She needed to make sure nothing interrupted her. She returned to the control room. A secure call flashed on the center screen. Helena Ward appeared. Her white hair was tied neatly behind her head. She sat beside a hospital window wrapped in a dark shawl. "You look tired," Helena said. "I am awake." "That was not what I said." Mara almost smiled. Helena had been the only person who noticed the truth before Mara died. She had simply noticed too late. "You received the medical report?" Mara asked. "I did." "Do not eat or drink anything delivered through the Foundation." Helena's gaze sharpened. "You believe someone intends to poison me?" "Yes." "Evelyn?" Mara paused. Helena watched her. The silence answered. Helena looked toward the window. Clouds moved above the hospital garden. "I always disliked her tears. She is convincing." "No. People merely enjoy believing tears because tears excuse them from thinking." Mara leaned back. In the other life, Helena had said something similar while dying. Her voice had been weak then, her lips gray. Mara had held her hand and promised to find the truth. She had failed. Now Helena's eyes were bright, alive. "What do you need from me?" Helena asked. "Nothing visible." "It means something invisible. The trust documents must remain sealed until the gala." Helena nodded slowly. "Let them open automatically. You intend to let Evelyn claim the shares?" "Yes." "You know what follows?" "Yes." Helena studied Mara's face. "Will it destroy your family?" Mara thought of her mother's cold voice above the blood, her brother's laughter, everyone's hands as Helena gave a single nod. "They will destroy themselves. No comfort, no understanding, objection. Then I will remain alive long enough to watch." The call ended. Mara stood and walked to the small kitchen above the control room. She prepared black coffee. The machine hissed. Steam curled upward. The scent filled the quiet room. For years, Evelyn had used tears to make every space feel unstable. A sudden sob could change the direction of a meeting. A trembling voice could turn facts into cruelty. A red eye could make innocence appear heartless. Here, no one cried, no one demanded, no one looked at Mara as if her silence were a crime. She drank slowly beside the reinforced window. Far below, traffic moved through the city. The next days unfold with Mara sold the last property connected to her family. She transferred the Foundation's legitimate reserves into protected accounts authorized by Helena. She hired an independent auditor. She replaced the gala security team. She gave the audiovisual director a single encrypted drive and exact instructions. "Do not open it," she said. "When should it play?" "When I press the control." "What if someone orders you to stop?" "You will lose access before they finish speaking." The director glanced at the speaker plan. "This will reach every room. That is why I chose it." Meanwhile, Evelyn's confidence swelled. She began arriving at the Foundation later. She called employees into Mara's office and closed the door. She spoke of upcoming leadership changes. She promised promotions. She implied that Mara had abandoned the organization. At lunch, she cried before the staff. She said she worried about Mara's mental condition. She said Mara had cut off her family without explanation. She said she feared the pressure had become too much. Employees comforted her. Some began sending statements to Adrian. Others repeated stories Mara had never told. Each message entered the archive. Each lie carried a time and sender. At night, Evelyn and Adrian worked together. They copied signatures. They altered drafts. They planned Helena's death. Mara watched everything. One evening, Evelyn held a small bottle beneath the office light. The liquid was clear. Adrian stared at it. "That is enough? More than enough. What if they test for it?" "They will test Mara's kitchen first." Evelyn laughed. "She has served Helena tea for years." Mara froze the image. She enlarged the bottle label. Then she sent the frame to Helena's security team. The next morning, the supplier was identified. The purchase trail led to Evelyn. No arrest followed. Not yet. Pulling one thread too early would warn the spider. Instead, Mara let Evelyn continue weaving. The gala invitations went out. Business leaders confirmed attendance. Reporters requested access. Board members announced they would vote on the leadership transfer that night. Evelyn ordered a white gown. Adrian purchased a new suit. Mara's mother arranged a private day family table near the stage. Her brother invited photographers. They prepared to celebrate. The city watched them glow brighter as the trap darkened beneath their feet. Rumors spread that Mara had disappeared because she feared the audit. A financial columnist called her silence an admission. A former employee described Evelyn as the Foundation's heart. Adrian appeared in an interview and said the organization needed compassionate leadership. Mara listened while checking the final locks on the ark. No anger, no defense, no public statement. Truth spoken too early became noise. Truth spoken at the correct moment became impact. The evening before the gala, a storm gathered beyond the city. Wind moved around the warehouse walls. The outer cameras showed branches bending beneath the dark sky. Inside, the power remained steady. The storage rooms were full, the accounts were protected, Helena was safe, the evidence archive glowed behind fireproof glass. Mara stood in the control room wearing a black dress, not the white dress stained with blood in her memory. Black, simple, sharp. On the central screen, Evelyn rehearsed her gala speech. She stood alone on the ballroom stage beneath the chandeliers. Her voice trembled with artificial grief. I never wanted this responsibility. I only stepped forward because the foundation needed someone willing to protect it. She paused. A tear appeared. Even during rehearsal, Mara turned up the volume. Evelyn continued. Mara was my dearest friend. I hope she finds peace. The empty ballroom carried her words through every speaker. Peace. Mara remembered the marble, the knife, the applause. She opened the encrypted drive. Waveforms filled the screen. Evelyn laughing, Adrian planning, her mother accusing, her brother mocking. The poison discussion, the forged transfer, the confession. Mara placed her finger above the final control. Tomorrow the ballroom would be full. Tomorrow Evelyn would cry. Tomorrow every person who had chosen the easier lie would be forced to hear the truth in the liar's own voice. On the screen, Evelyn saw her reflection. She believed she stood one night away from everything she had wanted. Mara watched from the silence of her fortress. Outside, thunder rolled across the city. The lights did not flicker, the locks did not move. Mara lifted her coffee and took one slow drink. Keep practicing, she whispered. The ballroom speakers carried Evelyn's rehearsed sob into the empty seats. Mara's recording waited beneath it, cold, complete, unforgiving. The ballroom doors opened beneath a ceiling of crystal fire. Music drifted across polished marble. Champagne glasses touched with bright, delicate sounds. Reporters stood beneath banners bearing the foundation crest. Investors moved through the room in dark suits and jeweled gowns. Board members gathered near the stage, smiling with the solemn satisfaction of people preparing to witness history. At the center of it all stood Evelyn. Her white gown shimmered beneath the chandeliers. A silver brooch rested at her throat. Her hair fell in soft waves over one shoulder, framing a face carefully shaped into humility. She did not look like a thief, she looked like a woman burdened by goodness. Every few moments someone approached to praise her courage. Evelyn lowered her eyes, she touched their hand, she whispered that she had never wanted power. Then she accepted another compliment. Adrian remained beside her in a tailored black suit. His hand rested at her waist. The gesture was almost identical to the one Mara remembered from the night she died. Only the knife was missing. For now, Mara's mother sat at the family table, nearest the stage, wearing dark green silk and a necklace Mara had once purchased for her. She told anyone willing to listen that Evelyn had saved the foundation from collapse. Mara's brother moved between photographers, laughing loudly, offering private details about Mara's supposed breakdown. She became paranoid, he said near one camera. She stopped trusting everyone. The reporter tilted her head. Even her family? Especially her family. He smiled sadly. We tried to help. From the control room beneath the ballroom, Mara watched every angle. Dozens of screens covered the wall. The stage, the family table, the board section, the press platform, the service corridors, the private suite where Evelyn had once laughed about Mara's death. Mara sat before the central console in a black dress. Her hair was pulled away from her face. No jewelry, no visible weapon. Only a small control device resting beneath her hand. Beside her, the audio-visual director monitored the system. All channels are ready. Mara looked at the sound levels. Backup, independent external broadcast, connected, recording, live copies to every secured location. Mara nodded. Above them, Evelyn laughed softly at something Adrian whispered. Her laughter flowed through the ballroom microphones. Mara remembered another laugh, sharper, greedier. Soon everyone else would hear it too. The board chair took the stage. Conversation faded, the musicians lowered their instruments. A spotlight settled over the podium. Tonight marks a new chapter for the Ward Foundation. Applause rose. Mara watched the board's brahmazids clap. Several had accepted promises from Evelyn. One expected a promotion, and had Dana's been offered access to donor funds. A third had agreed to support the leadership transfer because Adrian promised that Mara would be blamed for every irregularity discovered during the audit. They had all spoken freely inside rooms they believed were private. Their voices waited in Mara's archive. The board chair continued. In recent weeks our organization has faced uncertainty. Questions have emerged regarding financial oversight, leadership stability, and the responsible management of our donors' trust. A murmur moved through the crowd. Cameras turned toward Evelyn. She lowered her eyes. Her lashes trembled. Perfect timing. During this difficult period, the chair said, one person stepped forward with grace, courage, and compassion. Applause began before he finished. Evelyn pressed a hand against her chest. Adrian looked at her with practiced pride. Mara's mother wiped at the corner of one eye. Her brother clapped above his head. The board chair extended his hand. Evelyn heart. Evelyn rose. The ballroom erupted. She walked toward the stage slowly as each step carried unbearable responsibility. Her gown whispered across the marble. The spotlight followed her. Mara watched the heel of one white shoe touch, the exact place where her blood had spread in another life. The memory did not shake her, it made the image clearer. Evelyn reached the podium. She waited for the applause to soften, then she looked across the ballroom with shining eyes. I do not know whether I deserve this trust. Her voice cracked. The Aslinstis, Mara's brother, murmured, she is too good for this family. The microphone beneath his table captured every word. Evelyn breathed carefully. I never imagined standing here. I never wanted to replace anyone, least of all the woman I once loved as a sister. A tear slipped down her cheek. Several people glanced toward the empty seat, bearing Mara's name. Evelyn followed their gaze. I wish Mara were here. Mara's mother bowed her head. Adrian's jaw tightened in theatrical pain. Evelyn continued, I wish she had allowed us to help her before fear and suspicion consumed her. The lie entered every microphone. Mara's hand remained still. Not yet. Evelyn spoke of friendship, sacrifice, loyalty. She described nights spent comforting Mara through imaginary breakdowns she claimed Mara had become obsessed with control. She said the foundation's missing funds had frightened her, but she had remained silent to protect someone she loved. Each sentence was shaped like mercy. Each word buried another blade. The room accepted them eagerly. People preferred sorrow to complexity. They preferred a beautiful victim to an inconvenient truth. At last, Evelyn placed both hands on the podium. I have submitted the audit records to the board. A screen behind her illuminated. Charts appeared, red numbers, missing funds, unauthorized transfers, documents carrying Mara's copied signature. Gasps moved through the ballroom. The board chair rose with a grave expression. Evelyn turned toward him. I did not want this shown publicly. She had prepared the display herself. I begged the board to handle it privately. She had invited the reporters, but the donors deserved the truth. She had forged every record. Mara looked toward the director. He waited. She gave no signal. Evelyn needed to climb higher. The board chair returned to the microphone. The evidence indicates a severe breach of trust. Mara's mother stood. Her voice carried through the room. As Mara's mother, I cannot defend what she has done. Cameras swung toward her. She pressed one hand against her necklace. I loved my daughter. I still do. But love cannot excuse theft. Mara watched her mother's face on the central screen. In the other life, that same mouth had said Mara deserved whatever happened. Now it spoke of moral courage. Her brother rose next. We tried to stop her. His eyes were wet. She cut us off because we would not support her crimes. Adrian stepped onto the stage. He took Evelyn's hand. Mara threatened Evelyn when she discovered the audit. A wave of shocked whispers spread across the room. Shook her head. Please. Adrian faced the audience. I remained silent because I hoped Mara would accept help, but Evelyn's safety must come first. Evelyn began to cry harder. The room had become hers. Every face watched her. Every camera framed her. Every lie had reached its highest point. Mara pressed the first control. The charts behind Evelyn vanished. The screen turned black. The ballroom speakers released a faint burst of static. I stopped crying. The board chair looked toward the technical booth. Is there a problem? Mara pressed the second control. A glass clinked against marble. Then Evelyn's laughter filled the ballroom, sharp, greedy, triumphant. She really believed me. The sound struck the room like a door slamming shut. Evelyn's face emptied. Adrian released her hand. The recording continued. She believed every tear, every apology. Every time I said I was scared, she ran to protect me like a stupid dog. No one moved. Mara's mother's mouth fell open. Evelyn turned toward the dark screen. Stop that. Her voice was no longer trembling. The next recording began. Adrian's voice. How much access did she give you? Evelyn answered. Enough. The ballroom remained silent. She is even more pathetic than I expected. A few heads turned toward Adrian. He stepped away from the podium. That is fabricated. Mara pressed another control. The screen illuminated. Video appeared. Evelyn sat inside Mara's office. Adrian leaned over her shoulder. Their faces were clear. Their lips moved in perfect time with the sound. Can you move the accounts? Adrian asked. Not yet. The permissions are limited, but I can copy the donor identities and build the transfer history. Once the audit starts, I will create the missing money. Someone near the press platforms swore aloud. Cameras lifted. The room exploded with shutter clicks. Evelyn reached for the podium microphone. This video has been altered. The microphone went dead beneath her hand. Mara activated the balsam system. Her voice entered every speaker. Calm. Cold. Then perhaps the next one will be more convincing. Every face turned upward. Mara appeared on the screen. She sat in the control room beneath rows of live monitors, alive, composed. Watching them, her mother whispered her name. Evelyn gripped the podium. Mara. Mara looked directly into the camera. You said you wished I were here. She pressed another control. The screen divided. On one side, Evelyn stood on the stage in her white gown. On the other, Evelyn appeared inside the foundation office holding a small bottle beneath the light. Her recorded voice filled the room. "That is enough?" Adrian's voice answered. "What if they test for it? They will test Mara's kitchen first." Evelyn laughed on the screen. "She has served Helena tea for years." The board chair stepped back as if the image itself carried poison. Investors began speaking at once. Reporters pushed closer to the stage. Mara's mother stood frozen beside the family table. Her brother looked toward the exits. The doors locked with a heavy metallic sound, not to imprison them, only to prevent the evidence from being interrupted before security arrived. Evelyn's face twisted. "You are as insane." Mara's expression did not change. "Would you like to cry?" The words landed softly. Evelyn recoiled as if struck. Mara played another recording. Evelyn's voice filled the ballroom. "People do not protect the innocent, they protect the person who looks the most wounded." A restless sound moved through the audience. Then the screen showed Evelyn recording her tearful message to Mara. Her face appeared fragile, her voice shook. "Mara, I hope I did not upset you today." The image paused, then resumed after Evelyn stopped recording. Her expression went blank. She checked the message. Approved it. Sent it. The contrast was merciless. Woman's audience laughed once. In disbelief, another whispered, "My gods." Evelyn's tears had vanished, her eyes burned. She turned toward Adrian. "Do something." He was already backing away. "You made those recordings." Her face hardened. "You were there." "I never agreed to poison anyone." The ballroom microphones captured him clearly. Evelyn stared. Adrian realized what he had admitted. The room erupted. Mara's brother threw the family table. "This has nothing to do with us." Mara pressed the next file. His voice played. She became paranoid. "We can say she threatened everyone." Another recording followed. Mara's mother spoke from Eslin's stolen office. "If we prove instability, anything she signed can be questioned." Mara's mother looked around wildly. "We were worried about her." Mara's voice remained even. "You were worried about my money." The display changed again. Documents filled the screen. Asset requests, messages, statements prepared before the audit, promises of positions after Mara's removal. The family's fingerprints covered every page. The applause that had greeted Evelyn was gone. In its place came the dry rustle of people moving away from the accused. Chairs scraped. Silk brushed against silk. The circle around Evelyn widened. She stood alone beneath the spotlight. Her white gown no longer looked pure. It looked exposed. The board chair turned toward security. "Call all authorities." Evelyn slammed both hands against the podium. "She gave me access." Her voice rang through the ballroom without a microphone. "She signed it. She handed everything to me." Mara nodded once. "Yes." The room looked at Spamamitis. Mara leaned slightly toward the screen. "I gave you access to a mirror." The color drained from Adrian's face. Mara continued. "Every document you opened was copied. Every file you altered was preserved in its original form. Every external device you connected was identified. Every transfer draft carried a marker linked to your account." Evelyn shook her head. "No. The missing money never existed." The forged charts reappeared behind her. Lines of data changed. The supposed stolen funds dissolved into test records. "The money you accused me of taking remained protected under Helena Ward's authority." A murmur passed through the board. Then a new live image appeared. Helena sat upright, beside a hospital window, alive. Evelyn staggered back. Helena's voice entered the ballroom. "I have reviewed the evidence." She looked directly at Evelyn. "You attempted to poison me, steal my voting shares, falsify foundation records, and frame the persons who gave you access." Evelyn's mouth opened. Nothing came out. Helena continued. "The trust transfer will proceed according to the documents you created." For the first time, Evelyn smiled, not from relief, from confusion. Mara watched, understanding fail to reach her. Helena's expression turned cold. "You wanted the controlling shares." Evelyn swallowed. Helena leaned closer. "You may have them." The board members began whispering. Adrian looked toward Mara's screen. "What does that mean?" Mara answered. "The shares are tied to every liability hidden beneath the Ward Medical Trust." The sealed clauses appeared on the display. Legal claims, tax penalties, international contract debts, personal guarantees activated by fraudulent acquisition. Adrian stepped toward Evelyn. "You said the shares were clean." Evelyn shook her head. "They were supposed to be." Mara's voice cut through the rising panic. "An honest successor could separate the liabilities." She looked at Evelyn. "A fraudulent claimant assumes them personally." The document scrolled. Asset seizure, authority, executive responsibility, civil exposure, criminal referral. The numbers were written in words, but their meaning required no calculation. Ruin, complete and immediate. Evelyn clutched the podium. "No, I reject the transfer." Helena's image remained still. "You already accepted it." The signed documents appeared. Evelyn's signature, her access logs, her recorded statement claiming authority, her messages promising control. Mara's brother turned on her first. "You told us this would make us rich." Evelyn looked at him. You begged for a position. Mara's mother stepped away from the table. You deceived this family. Evelyn laughed, a harsh, breathless sound. You forced Mara to give me access. Adrian pointed at her. This was your plan. You helped me forge everything. I never touched the accounts. His own voice answered from the speakers. Once the board removes her, we can challenge the transfers. Adrian froze. The room stared at him. The family circle collapsed. Not slowly, at once. Accusations flew. Mara's brother shouted that he had only repeated what Evelyn told him. Her mother claimed Adrian had manipulated everyone. Adrian accused Evelyn of planning Helena's death. Evelyn screamed that Mara's family had demanded money and status. The microphones caught every word. The people who had preached loyalty began tearing one another apart before the first officer entered the room. Mara watched from the control room. This was the moment she remembered from death. The chandeliers, marble, the cameras. The family gathered near Evelyn, but the arrangement had changed. No blood beneath Mara, no knife in her body, no applause for the liar, only panic. Security entered through the side doors. Investigators followed. Evelyn stepped down from the stage. Her heel caught the edge of her gown, the fabric tore. She stumbled. No one reached for her. Her mascara had begun to run. The tearful saint vanished beneath black streaks and naked rage. She pointed toward Mara's image. She planned this. Mara met her gaze through the screen. Yes, the room became still again. Mara did not deny it. She did not soften the truth. I planned to let you speak. Evelyn's breath shook. I planned to let you sign. Mara's voice remained quiet. I planned to let everyone who called me selfish place their trust in you. Her mother flinched. Her brother looked down. Adrian's face hardened with hatred. Mara continued. I did not force you to forge records. The officers reached the stage. I did not force you to buy poison. They took the bottle evidence from a sealed case. I did not force you to lie. Handcuffs closed around Adrian's wrists. I only stopped saving you from the consequences. Evelyn backed away. Her white shoe touched the center of the marble floor, the exact place where Mara had died. An officer took her arm. Evelyn began to cry. The sound was ragged now, uncontrolled, ugly, real. Mara, please. The ballroom heard it. No one moved. No one defended her. No one called Mara cruel. The tears that had once commanded entire rooms now fell uselessly onto torn white silk. Mara looked at the control beneath her hand. Then she played one final recording. Evelyn's triumphant voice filled the ballroom. The truth only matters when people hear it first. Silence followed, cold and enormous. Mara closed the file. No, she said. Her eyes remained on Evelyn as officers led her away. The truth matters when there is nowhere left for the liar to hide. The screen went black. Behind it, the ballroom dissolved into shouting, arrests, accusations, and the first violent cracks of reputations collapsing under their own weight. Mara stood from the console. Above her, thunder rolled beyond the city. The chandeliers continued to burn over a room that no longer belonged to Evelyn. Her victory had lasted until the moment everyone heard her voice. Her ruin began before the echo faded. The first scream began before the ballroom doors had fully closed. It came from Evelyn, not the delicate cry she had used beneath chandeliers and camera lights, not the breathless tremor that once made strangers rush to defend her. This scream tore out of her like something alive, being dragged through broken glass facades. No! The officers pulled her toward the corridor. Her white gown trailed behind her, torn at the hem and stained with spilled champagne. One sleeve had slipped from her shoulder. Black mascara cut down her cheeks in crooked rivers. She twisted hard enough to nearly fall. Mara. The ballroom screens remained dark. Mara did not answer. Evelyn clawed at the officer's wrist. She trapped me. She forged everything. She planned this from the beginning. The officer tightened his grip. Sir, stop resisting. I am the victim. Her voice cracked. She searched the room for someone who still believed her. The investors looked away. The board members whispered behind raised hands. The reporters moved closer, not to comfort her, but to capture every ruined angle of her face. Evelyn turned toward Adrian. Tell them. He stood several his hands behind a strange band. His expression had changed. The affection he had worn beside her on the stage was gone. There was only calculations now. Survival. She handled the accounts, he said. Evelyn stared at him. You gave me the donor files. I never told you to falsify transfers. You helped write the statements. You said that the records were legal. Her voice rose. You kissed me in her office while we planned it. The cameras recorded every word. Adrian's jaw tightened. You were obsessed with replacing her. You wanted her company. You wanted her dead. I never touched the knife. The ballroom fell silent. Adrian's breathing. Evelyn's face changed. For a moment, even panic disappeared. She looked at him with raw disbelief. The knife had not existed in this life. Not yet. But Adrian had remembered the plan they had discussed in whispers. A final solution if Mara resisted. He had spoken too quickly. Mara watched from the corridor on the control room. The live feed remained active on a tablet in her hand. She saw the fear enter Adrian's eyes when he understood what he had revealed. Investigators turned toward him. One officer spoke quietly into a radio. Evelyn began laughing. It was a shattered sound. "You idiot." Adrian lunged toward her. Security stopped him. "You said she would disappear. You agreed. I agreed to remove her from the company. You held her down in every version of the plan." Mara's fingers rested lightly against the tablet. There it was, the shape of her previous death entering this life as a confession. No blood was required. No knife needed to touch her flesh. The murder had already existed inside them. It had simply failed to become reality. The ballroom microphones preserved everything. Evelyn's voice, Adrian's rage, her mother's sudden sob, her brother's whispered curse. Mara turned off the tablet. She had heard enough. Behind her, the reinforced corridor stretched toward a private exit. The audiovisual director stood beside the door. "What happens now?" "Evidence goes to the investigators. All of it. All of it." He glanced toward the ceiling where the muffled chaos continued above them. "And you?" Mara pressed her palm against the security panel. The lock released. "I go home." The word felt unfamiliar. Home had once meant a place where every door could be closed against her. Now it meant steel walls no one else could enter. She stepped into the night. Rain fell across the city in long silver lines. Camera flashes pulsed behind the ballroom windows. Police vehicles crowded the entrance, gathered beneath awnings, speaking into phones, and repeating fragments of the scandal before the official statements had even begun. Mara walked past them unnoticed. Her black coat absorbed the rain. Her shoes struck the pavement with steady, measured sounds. No one stopped her. No one demanded an explanation. No one accused her of cruelty. The truth had done what pleading never could. It had made silence useful. By sunrise, Evelyn's face covered every news screen. One image showed her smiling beneath the chandeliers. Another showed her being led away with mascara running down her cheeks. Adrian appeared beside her in handcuffs. Headlines spoke of fraud, conspiracy, attempted poisoning, financial manipulation, and planned violence. Mara's mother released a statement claiming she had been deceived. Her brother gave an interview insisting he had only acted out of concern. Neither statement survived the morning. Recordings appeared, messages surfaced. Documents contradicted them. Their own voices buried every excuse. Mara watched none of it live. Inside the warehouse, morning arrived quietly. Warm lights glowed above the kitchen. Water moved through hidden pipes. The ventilation system hummed. She sat beside the reinforced window with black coffee cooling between her hands. The city beyond the glass looked distant, clean. Unconcerned, her phone vibrated. Mother. Mara allowed it to ring until the screen went dark. Rang again, then again. Messages followed. "We need to talk. You misunderstood everything. I was trying to protect you. Evelyn manipulated us. We are still your family." Mara read them once. Then she placed the phone face down. Her mother had stood over her dying body in another life and called her humiliation deserved. Now she wanted conversation. Her brother called Zex. His message arrived as a recording. "Mara, listen to me. I know things look bad, but I never knew about the poison. I never knew Adrian planned to hurt you. I was angry, yes, but you know how families are. We say things, we make mistakes. You cannot let them freeze my accounts. Call the investigators. Tell them I cooperated." Mara deleted nothing. Every plea entered the archive, not because she needed more evidence, because memory deserved witnesses. Days passed, the investigations widened. Evelyn's false transfers activated the clauses hidden inside the Ward Trust. The moment she had claimed executive authority, the dormant liabilities attached to her fraudulent position. Creditors appeared. Legal teams arrived. Assets were frozen. The apartment she had rented under a shell company was seized. The jewelry purchased with foundation funds disappeared into evidence bags. The white gown from the gala was photographed, boxed and labeled. Adrian lost access to the company before his first hearing. His accounts were locked. His board allies denied knowing him. The same men who had promised support now described him as unstable, ambitious, and dangerous. Mara's mothers discovered that the family house no longer belonged to the family structure. Mara had transferred it legally before the gala. The mortgage reserve was hers. The maintenance accounts were hers. The household staff contracts were hers. Without them, the lights were cut room by room. The refrigerator stopped humming. The heating failed. The chandeliers remained dark. Mara's brother sold his watch to pay for temporary lodging. Then the watch was claimed as part of the financial investigation. Each person who had lived from Mara's labor discovered what life felt like when her hands were removed. They did not suffer all at once. Ruin came in smaller sounds. A card rejected at a restaurant, a key failing in a lock, a bank representative saying no, a friend ending a call, a hotel clerk refusing another night, a reporter waiting outside. A former employee looking away, the noises accumulated, clicks, buzzes, closed doors, silence. The world they had built from Mara's obedience collapsed without drama. It simply stopped opening for them. Evelyn's first letter arrived from detention. The envelope was thin. Her handwriting shook. Mara, I know you hate me, you have every right. I was jealous, I was afraid. I spent my whole life beside you, watching everyone admire you. You had talent, money, Helena's trust, Adrian's love. I had nothing, I only wanted one chance. Things went too far. Adrian pressured me. Your family encouraged me. I never meant to hurt Helena. I never meant to hurt you. Please tell them I was emotional and confused. Please say the recordings were taken out of context. You know me better than anyone. You know I am not evil. Please do not abandon me. Your best friend, Evelyn. Mara read the letter in the archive. The room smelled of paper and cold metal. She placed it beside a transcript of Evelyn's voice. She really believed me. Every time I said I was scared, she ran to protect me like a stupid dog. The two versions lay together, plea and confession, mask and face. Mara sealed them inside the same drawer. She did not reply. A second letter came. Then a third. The handwriting became less careful. Why are you doing this? You already won. They are threatening me with prison. The debts are impossible. Helena refuses to withdraw the trust claim. You cannot want me dead. I loved you. The next letter carried tear stains. Real ones. The paper had wrinkled where they dried. Mara touched none of them with a pity. Evelyn had finally learned how useless tears became when no audience wanted to be deceived. Months passed before the final hearing. By then Adrian had turned against Evelyn completely. He provided messages. He claimed she had controlled him. Evelyn responded with recordings of her own. Neither understood that every attempt to save themselves widened the grave beneath them. Mara's mother testified that she had trusted Evelyn because Mara had always been difficult. The prosecutor played her breakfast recording. This is how families should behave. No suspicion, no competition, no selfishness. Then another. If we prove instability, anything she signed can be questioned. Her mother's face emptied. Her brother claimed he had never benefited from the scheme. Bank records showed promised transfers, travel expenses, and a contract granting him a future position. Adrian claimed the poisoning discussion was fantasy. The supplier testified. Evelyn claimed she had never intended to use the bottle. Her fingerprints were found on it. The verdicts came one after another. Fraud, conspiracy, attempted poisoning, financial crimes, obstruction, planned violence. The courtroom filled with the sound of quiet weeping. Evelyn turned toward Mara. For the first time since the gala, they looked at each other without glass, screens, or cameras between them. Evelyn wore a plain gray uniform. Her hair had been cut unevenly. Her cheeks were hollow. The softness had left her face. She looked older than Mara remembered from the night of her death. Not because of time, because no one was reflecting beauty back at her anymore. Mara, she whispered. An officer touched her shoulder. Evelyn resisted. Please. Mara remained seated. Her mother sat several rows behind the defense table, wearing a borrowed coat. Her brother stared at the floor. Adrian's face was hard with exhausted hatred. All of them looked toward Mara. The only person they had once considered expendable. Now every hope in the room pointed at her. Evelyn took one step closer. I was your best friend. Mara's voice was quiet. You said I was a stupid dog. Evelyn flinched. I was angry. You said people protect whoever looks most wounded. I did not mean it. You planned to poison Helena. Adrian pressured me. You planned to frame me. Your family wanted it. You planned what would happen if I resisted. Evelyn's lips trembled. I was afraid of losing everything. Mara looked at her. You had nothing to lose until you stole what belonged to me. Evelyn began to cry. No careful breathing, no measured tears. Her body folded around the sound. Please tell them, I am sorry. You are not Harry. Evelyn shook her head violently. I loved you. Mara remembered white roses, a knife beneath her ribs, a heel grinding into her hand, a laugh above her blood. You loved what I gave you. Evelyn sank to her knees before the officers could stop her. The courtroom gasped. She reached toward Mara. Mara, please. I will spend my life making it right. Mara did not move. Her mother stood suddenly. She is begging you. The judge called for silence. Her mother continued. You have destroyed enough. She made mistakes, but this has gone too far. Mara turned. Her mother's eyes were red. Blood should mean something, she said. Mara held her gaze. In another life, blood had spread across marble while this woman turned away. It did, Mara answered. You stepped over mine. Mara's brother rose. We are still family. Mara looks at him. You said I did not deserve one. His mouth closed. Adrian laughed bitterly from the defense table. So this is revenge. Mara faced Resim's table. His eyes sized him. No, his eyes narrowed. You planned every steps. I preserved every choice. You handed Evelyn the access. She asked for it. You knew what would happen. I knew who you were. Adrian leaned forward. You think that S makes you innocent? Mara's expression remained calm. I never put poison in anyone's hand. Her gaze moved to Evelyn. I only stopped taking it away. The officers lifted Evelyn from the floor. She screamed Mara's name again. Her fingers struck across the vast distance between them. Do not leave me here. Mara stood. The courtroom lights reflected across the polished wood. For one instant the place resembled the ballroom. A circle of witnesses, a woman crying, a family watching. But Mara's body was whole, her breath was steady, no blood touched the floor. She walked toward the exit. Behind her Evelyn sobbed. Mara, I am sorry. Mara stopped at the door. Silence spread through the courtroom. She looked back once. Evelyn waited with desperate hope, the same hope Mara had carried while dying. The hope that someone who claimed to love her might finally choose mercy. Mara spoke the words her mother had given her beside the ballroom floor in another life. You have humiliated this family enough. Her mother covered her mouth. Mara looked at her brother. Why could you never learn to let Evelyn have one thing? His face twisted. Then Mara turned to Adrian. You should have accepted that you lost. He stared at her. Every sentence had returned to its owner. Not louder, not crueler. Exactly as spoken. The door opened. Mara stepped through. Behind her, Evelyn's final scream rose and broke against the courtroom walls. The door closed. Its lock clicked. Years later, Evelyn died alone in a prison infirmary after refusing treatment she could no longer afford through the trust penalties attached to her name. Adrian survived longer, long enough to watch every appeal fail, long enough to be forgotten by the people who once praised him. Mara's brother disappeared into temporary jobs and borrowed rooms, always telling strangers that his sister had ruined him. Her mother spent her final years in a small care facility paid for by a public program. She wrote letters every month. Mara kept them unopened, not from rage, from completion. Helena lived long enough to rebuild the foundation under a transparent trust. She attended no galas. She allowed no speeches about compassion, only audited work. Quiet results, doors that opened for people who truly needed them. Mara remained in the warehouse residence. Over time, concrete softened beneath books, warm lamps, and living plants. The archives stayed locked. The recordings remained inside. She rarely listened to them. Truth did not need to keep screaming after judgment had been delivered. On the anniversary of the gala, Mara stood beside the reinforced window with a cup of black coffee. Rain moved across the city. Below, traffic flowed beneath white streetlights. Her reflection looked back from the glass, calm, untouched, alive. She opened the control panel and selected the final remaining live archive connection. Evelyn's old recording appeared. The truth only matters when people hear it first. Mara listened once, then she deleted the playback key. The original evidence remained sealed, but the voice would never again enter her home. The screen went dark. Mara took one slow drink. Behind her, every lock rested in silence. Outside, the rain washed the city clean. She touched the glass and remembered the last moment of her previous life. The applause, the blood, the darkness. Then she turned away. Her final thought was short, cold, complete. They chose the lie, I chose the ending.